All right, we have some breaking news. A seismic shift just happened in Washington, D.C. after the Republican-controlled House of Representatives voted to terminate Donald Trump's tariffs against our ally of Canada. 6 Republicans joined the Democrats to block Trump's 35% tariff, and now Trump is melting down on Truth Social, threatening those 6 Republicans. This MAGA influencer on Twitter said, breaking news, the U.S. House has voted to terminate President Trump's tariffs 219 to 211. This guy then says, this is freaking insane. These people desperately want America to lose. No, we want America to win. We are allies with Canada, and Trump can't just unilaterally place a tax on U.S. citizens by threatening all of our allies across the world with tariffs. He has placed an undue tax on the U.S. citizens. He has alienated Canada so much that they are now buddy-buddy with China, and we need to restore some sort of semblance of respect to the United States. That's what this vote right here is.
On this vote, the yeas are 219 and the nays are 211. The joint resolution is passed. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Boom. Now, Trump can still veto this. We're not entirely over the hump, but this is hugely, hugely symbolic of a coalition that is fracturing. We are 8 months out from a midterms where Republicans are going to get smacked around, and these Republicans can see the writing on the wall. This says, in case you're wondering, the 6 Republicans who voted with Democrats to pass the resolution terminating the tariffs were Representative Don Bacon, Representative Kevin Kiley, Representative Thomas Massie, Representative Jeff Hurd, Representative Brian Fitzpatrick, and Representative Dan Newhouse. These 6 Republicans are trying to save the Republican Party from Donald Trump. Donald Trump then freaked out on Truth Social, but 10 minutes before Donald Trump made this post on his Truth Social, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson said, Trump's not upset, Trump doesn't care. We now know that is false, but just take a look at Mike Johnson.
Either they will pass the House version of the bill, or they're going to miss the other 2 and we'll vote on Friday. That's my expectation.
How upset will the president will be if the Republicans buck him on tariffs right now?
He's not upset. I just left the White House. He understands what's going on. It's not going to affect or change his policy.
He just said he'll understand. He's not upset.
Veto these things if they come to him.
He's not going to back off at all?
The president's trade policies are working. Look at the economic data. Look at the stock market above 50,000. Look at the reduction in the trade deficit by 78%.
All right, let's look at the economic data. Joey points out the U.S. has lost roughly 82,000 manufacturing jobs over the last year, though it posted its first monthly gain since November of 2024 in January. Wood, electronics, and chemicals are the biggest losers, though almost no subsectors are doing well, and these are sectors that have been surgically targeted by the tariffs. Donald Trump has had to remove specific tariffs on beef and other types of food because they have raised the prices so much so that American consumers are struggling. We learned earlier today from a new study, a new report, that tariffs raise prices on American families by $1,000 per year, and next year it's going to be more like $1,500 solely because of the tariff. So as Speaker of the House Mike Johnson says, the economy is booming. It's not. People are struggling. Young people are struggling. Consumer sentiment is down. As he says that Donald Trump isn't upset, just know Trump is very upset. He posted moments ago, any Republican in the House or the Senate that votes against tariffs will seriously suffer the consequences come election time, and that includes primaries. Our trade deficit has been reduced by 78%. That's not true whatsoever. That's a huge lie. The Dow Jones is at 50,000. Okay, so he's just repeating what Speaker of the House Mike Johnson has said. And the S&P, 7,000. All numbers that were considered impossible just 1 year ago. This is not true. The stock market hitting an all-time high is not impressive. The stock market is almost always hitting an all-time high as long as we're not in an absolute recession. So it's not impressive that we're hitting all-time highs. It's more impressive that Trump has tanked the stock market 4 times due to his tariffs, slowed growth from Biden's terms, lost us manufacturing jobs, and nuked many small businesses while bragging about non-existent $20 trillion of investment. He then says, in addition, tariffs have given us great national security because the mere mention of the word has countries agreeing to our strongest wishes. Really? How has that worked out with Canada, who is now buddy-buddy with China because they want to give a middle finger to the United States, who has been tariffing the hell out of them? This is not how it works. Trump's tariffs have been a failure. And I think one of the strongest arguments against the tariffs that everybody should understand is the continuity argument. If you are going to try to enact a long-term policy change regarding the economy, For example, if you're trying to get manufacturers to build more plants in the United States, this is a multi-decade process. A company is only going to move to the United States and build a plant if they can get a return over decades and decades. They're not going to do it just to have it knocked down 3 or 4 years later, right? So in order to have a long-term policy, there needs to be continuity between administrations. There needs to be a law passed by Congress that says this trade deal is stapled together and signed by both countries. Well, right now, we don't have that. We don't have physical trade deals. We don't have any of that. It is quite literally just one man on Truth Social deciding what is tariffed and what isn't, and there's no continuity. So whether JD Vance gets into office, God forbid, or whether it's Gavin Newsom, which would be pretty cool, whether it's AOC, whoever wins this next election, if they decide they don't want to keep in Trump's tariffs for any reason, then they could just remove them. There's no continuity. So take that to the next step. Why would any company actually invest in the United States? Why would any company actually move to the United States if there is zero continuity between administrations whatsoever? Now, these random stock traders on Twitter who are MAGA accounts are kind of giving it away. This guy tweeted out, "I hope you bought the dip. The market is about to pump. The U.S. passed a bill to end President Trump's tariffs." By the way, they're not completely ended. The 35% tariffs are not completely ended, but this is a very good step in the right direction. He then says, Trump and Xi may roll back tariffs for up to a year. So Trump supporters are out there admitting that when the tariffs are rolled back and when the tariffs are banned, it makes the stock market rip and do very well, meaning the tariffs are holding the market back. This is so incoherent. They have no ideology. Let me just talk about how Donald Trump and Speaker of the House Mike Johnson have been losing power rapidly, because heading into these midterms, they are absolutely cooked. The political mechanics that made this possible are because Republicans have been using procedural rules to block any vote challenging Trump's tariffs. Any vote challenging Trump's tariffs wouldn't even be debated. The Republicans were quite literally preventing any debate whatsoever. That ban expired at the end of January. So now, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson said, hey, we want to put up another ban on the ability to debate this. Well, just today, the House rejected that. That opened the door for Democrats and Republicans to vote against Trump's tariffs, and immediately his tariffs against Canada got shot down. Thomas Massey, Don Bacon, Kevin Kiley, and others broke ranks with their own party because they understand something. Tariffs may sound good as a buzzword in Trump's speeches when he's using a bunch of dipshit rhetoric, and maybe he sounds smart if he uses the word tariffs or whatever, but they are a disaster for the average American. They are brutal for farmers. They are brutal in grocery stores. They are brutal for manufacturers who rely on cross-border supply chains. And tariffs are, quite frankly, a political time bomb that are going to nuke the Republicans come the midterms. I'm going to leave it there, but as Trump's power is waning, if you want to join the movement and become a part of this pro-democracy community, make sure you drop a like, subscribe below. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, subscribe on YouTube. I love you all, and peace out.